did have a ball here. Oh my god. Try to be tricky and it blows up in my face. G'day yogis, thanks for being here. If you didn't work it out already, we need a ball today. So we're working with some myofascial release. A ball will be handy. If you have a myofascial release ball, they are just a little bit squishy, which is good. But if you have a tennis ball, if your dog's got some half-chewed ball in the backyard, that can do just fine. But we will be needing one of those and also a yoga block for today's practice. And this is just to hopefully undo some of the work or some of the tightness that we may have acquired during some of the stronger practices over the week. And yeah, that's it. As always, thank you so much for continuing on this journey. Let's get into it. So we'll begin today laying down on our back. We're going to take one of our blocks, and it does help if the block is a little bit more rigid. So I've gone for cork. Cork are my favorite blocks. They hold their sturdiness for quite a long time. I think these blocks are almost 6 years old now, and they've held the test of time. So the way we're going to place the block is the longest way and the flattest way between the shoulder blades, and we want to take the top two corners of the block lining up with the lower part of your trapezius muscle. So it might take just a little bit of adjusting to get the block to a space where you're absolutely feeling something, but where it's not necessarily pressing into the neck as much. So when you come on down, you could bring the soles of your feet together. You could let your feet shuffle wide. You could let your knees knock together, or you could just take a simple cross-legged seat. The intention is to just shift around. You feel that block is comfortable. And then to start with, we're just going to take the arms out wide, so long to either side. Give yourself a moment to breathe. You want to feel back muscles heavy on the block. I feel almost as though the heart was cracking open towards the ceiling. So there's an expanse in the front body. And just to feel this a little more, I want you to see if you could pinch or squeeze your shoulder blades towards each other in this location. You might feel the rhomboids start to draw together a little more. And then from there, if you can, shrug your shoulders up towards your ears. And allow your shoulders to roll down the back. So we're just playing with the difference between an elevation and a depression, a lift and a lower of the shoulder blades, just to see and feel what that experience is like on the back body. And then once you've identified where the knots or the sticky points are, see if you can rotate and move around until you find where the knots are, or maybe you don't have any. Fantastic, lucky you if you don't, but if you do, find it. And then cactus the arms, bend them 90 degrees, just let them hover off the mat. You can imagine that you're holding a towel between each hand and you're pulling that either end of the towel away from one another. And you're just going to rotate your torso off to the left a little, and then to the right. So now we're moving towards left and towards right, moving towards the outer part of the rhomboids a little more. And all these little tiny muscles, which you might not even give too much thought to, the subscapularis, subscap. I know for myself, in that middle part of the rhomboid, you can feel that tiny, tight little pinching muscle. Subscap always super tight for me. From there, just hover your head off the mat, cradle your head in the back of the hands. Allow your head to hang heavy for just a moment. You might feel your shoulder blades protract or draw apart a little more. The armpits might start to flare out. And then lift the chin in towards the chest for a moment, and then lower back down. So lift chin towards the chest, feel a flexion through the spine, but also feel your muscles, the upper back, become a little more active. And you lower down, a little more of an opening across the chest. One more time like that. Inhale, we lift up. Nice work. Release the head. Take the elbows down alongside the body, and then use your hands underneath your hips just to prop your torso up for a moment. We're going to lower back down onto the back in just a moment. We're going to lay the block down on the second height with the edge of the block resting against the muscles of the neck. And the way I like to support the block here, have your feet in a bridge setup. And then the block doesn't necessarily have to sit flat. You could turn it towards you a little, or you could turn it away from you. And that's just going to change where the edge of the block targets. So if you turn the block towards you, then it's going to hit sort of the mid-neck region. And you can use your hands to support the block. Just gently move your head from one side to the next. We do this nice and slow. And if you have it in such a way, almost on a 45-degree angle, you'll feel top edge of the block, massage just below the occipital ridge of the skull, right up into the back of the head. And you feel the bottom edge of the block, massage midway down the neck. Maybe not midway, but maybe 2/3 up the neck. You may notice I just have one finger supporting the block, just to keep it steady as I move through. Now, it's almost inevitable that at some point we are going to experience tightness in the traps, the upper back, and the back of the neck. So something as simple as this movement right here. Block in the back of the neck. Gentle movement from side to side as you observe the breath. This can really help if you ever feel a headache coming on, or if you just would like to avoid headaches. Allowing yourself to experience not just a super energetic, a super athletic practice all the time. These more subtle practices of trying to communicate and understand with our bodies a little more are sometimes what is almost more beneficial. That doesn't mean we don't love a handstand or two. Set the block flat now. Move it up a little higher so that the flat edge of the block is now on the occipital ridge, the back of the skull, and drop the chin towards the chest. Let the hands rest on the rib cage for a moment. So now we're experiencing more of a flexion through the cervical spine. Just letting the back of the head get heavy. And again, move very, very gently from side to side. We're not supporting the block with the hand this time, so it is the weight of the head that is resting into the block. So you just want to be mindful that you are moving with control. Let's do a few of these movements from one side to the next. Letting breath, super long, super fluid. And you finish off whatever side you happen to be on right now. And you slowly bring yourself back through center. Take as much time as you need. You're just going to locate your ball, and hopefully yours is a little closer than mine was, and you don't have to roll up off the mat. You're going to take the ball and put it underneath your shoulder. I'll go left, as that is what shoulder is closer to the camera. You can go right, doesn't matter, whatever you decide. Now you want that ball to line up with the outer part of your trapezius muscle, just at the top and back of the shoulder there. Lean a little bit of weight down to see what it feels like. Cactus the arm out. And just let the arm be heavy for a moment. So let the muscle release onto the ball first before we start to move through the shoulder joint. And I encourage you, just imagine you're reaching your arm up and overhead. So you extend the arm, you reach it back. The ball will start to move slightly. And you squeeze the elbow down towards your left hip. The ball will move again. Again, you're just trying to locate where you feel is the most sticky, the most troublesome portion of the shoulder there. And once you locate it, you're going to stick on there. You can hover the head off the mat, just let the fingers rest to the back of the head, and pressing into the feet, you're just going to start to roll up and down, just super gently. It might only be an inch. You can press into the feet to hover the hips. As you roll up and down, you're just trying to massage into the sticky point. Just give yourself about 5 breaths there, really exploring the experience, exploring the sensations. They're not all going to feel fantastic, that's okay. For a moment, just creating a long arm out towards the side of the room and just creating some big circles. So you take the hand down towards the hip. Again, I'll say left, it could be your right, that's fine. And you cross the left arm over the body and take it up and out again. So just creating a really big circle. Ooh, I can certainly feel that one. Let me know if you feel that in the comment section below. I find it really forces us to be conscious when we do get to one of those points that really makes you question all your decisions up until this point. What was it that made my muscles feel so tight? Could I have avoided it? Could I just have not used the myofascial release ball and I never would have known about it? Those thoughts often come up. But from a knowing becomes understanding, and from an understanding we start to build knowledge, and that knowledge becomes wisdom. I'm going to roll off, just move the ball in a couple of inches, so it's just on the inside or the left side of your spine there. You rest the elbows down, press the feet down, lift the hips, just feeling a little bit more weight. Rest on the very inner part of that left rhomboid. The more you press through heels to lift the hips, the more weight you'll feel pressed down against the ball. You could stay put, or you could roll up and down just a few inches, keeping the head resting on the mat. Keeping the breath, the one constant, your anchor point. Something to come back to when maybe the movements feel overwhelming or a little too much. Set yourself back down. Roll off to the right. Release the ball. And then we'll take it underneath the right shoulder this time. Again, it's at the back of the shoulder out nice and wide, resting just at the edge of the trapezius muscle. Cactus the arm out towards the side, or extend it long, whatever feels comfortable. Just let the weight rest down for a moment. And reach and extend the arm up and overhead, see what that feels like. Circle it out wide towards right-hand side of the room. Again, if you're on the opposite arm, just ignore my left and right cueing. Cross the arm over the body. And then circle it back out. Trying to move slow and with control through the whole range of motion. We spend so much time on our hands in the yoga practice. We spend so much time in the shoulders, downward facing dog, planks, chaturanga, dolphin pose, handstands, whatever it may be. They need some love, the old shoulders, because they do put up with a lot. When you think about the size of the hip joints, the size of the legs and the size of the feet compared to the size of the shoulder joints, the arms and the hands, you can see that the hips were made to support the weight of the human body. The legs are a lot bigger, the feet are a lot bigger, the hip joints so much bigger. As opposed to shoulders, arms and hands are not necessarily made to bear our entire body weight. That's why they're a lot smaller. Sometimes in yoga we do ask the muscles and the joints of the hands, arms and shoulders to bear our whole weight. So sometimes they're like, dude, calm down. I need a bit of a break. Identifying the sticky point. Just moving up and down, letting the shoulder blade lift and lower. Then rolling that ball a little more towards the inside of the back, just on the right hand side of the spine. Weight resting down into the rhomboid. And again, you could absolutely decide to stay right where you are. I know this is already intense, or you could press through heels, hover the hips, start to move up and down a little. Again, one of my sticky points coming up. You may notice I find it challenging to speak and breathe in this position. Be super mindful you are moving with care and just trying to think of it more of an exploration. Gently lower yourself back down. Release your ball if you can. We'll locate our trusty block again. Keep your ball handy, we'll come back to it. Lift the hips, blocks going to set underneath, above the sit bones, but below the rhomboids. So now we're at the lumbar portion of the spine, the erector spinae that run up either side of the spine. The length of the block is going to run across the left and the right erector spinae. You let the weight rest down, and you use the tilting action of the pelvis. So you're rotating the pelvis from left to right, feeling the glutes slowly activate. That's going to allow just a little more pressure to rest against the edge of the block. And it's going to be super subtle. We're not resting a lot of weight down because we are mindful that we are on the spine here. Create almost a circular-like motion. And this is just getting the lumbar spine used to having something underneath it. If you were to slide your block down a couple of inches, And then play with extending the legs long out in front of you. You might find the bottom corners of your blocks. And now resting into the upper part of your glutes. And as you flex into your glutes whilst you're there one at a time, you'll feel the corners of the blocks massage into the gluteus muscles a little. Particularly the glute med, the upper and outer part of the glutes. And as we work to continue, make our way down, reset the feet underneath the knees, remove your block out of the way. Again, I'm going to go left side first. You can choose whatever side you like. The ball is going to go underneath the glute med, so upper part of the glute. Right leg's going to stay in that bridge post setup. You're going to try and cross your left foot underneath the right leg and let the left knee fall out towards the left side of the room. Again, the weight is just resting down on the ball for a moment, feeling a million, 1,000, 100 bajillion sensations in that left glute. You could try and flex and soften the glute, see what that feels like. When you feel comfortable, we just move out towards the outer part of the glute. And you can use your right foot here. The more you press the right foot down, the more the hips lift, the less intense that feeling is going to be. The less you press into the right foot, the heavier the weight on the ball, the more intense that's going to be. And again, just feeling your way through the sticky points. Adjusting the ball, moving it down an inch or so, getting a little more into the belly of the glute max. Movement from one side to the next, using those hip rotations. You can even think about the hips creating a circle-like quality. And come back to stillness for a moment. Let as much weight rest down onto that ball if you can. And see if you could bring the right knee in towards the chest for a moment. Just use the right hand to grip hold of it. You'll feel even more weight just start to press down into that ball. And the idea is to just be still there for a moment. Take one last breath. Release the right knee. Setting the right foot down, we'll work to swap legs. So left leg is now in the bridge setup. You'll place the block, or the ball rather, just on the upper part of the glute med. And cross the right foot underneath the left leg. Allow the knee to fall out towards the side. Getting comfortable just with the weight pressing down to start with. An opportunity just for you to settle. See what it feels like. And you decide when it's time for you to move. Again, the more you press into the left foot, the more support you'll have, the less intense it's going to be. The less you press into the left foot, less support you have, the more you're going to feel. Just feeling your way through. No rhyme or reason, we'll keep it pretty casual. Just slide the ball down an inch or two, get right into the belly of the glute. Identifying the sticky point, resting weight down, right leg stays where it is. Left knee draws in, see if you could catch hold of the left knee. Just to feel a little more weight pressing down on that right leg. And releasing. Left leg down. Take the right foot back towards the bridge setup. Remove your ball. And just allow yourself to lay flat for a moment. Shuffle the feet wider. Let the knees draw together. Without the use of any props. So we're just going to reach the arms up and overhead. Reach them back behind you. And then soften on the floor for a moment. You might feel as though that movement feels a little more comfortable. Really reach the fingers back. Take a breath. On the exhale, squeeze the elbows down towards the hips. Trying to keep as much of your arm still resting on the mat. Do that a couple more times. So inhale, slide the arms back behind you. Exhale, squeeze the elbows down towards you. One more time. Nice work. Cross the arms over the chest. Let opposite hand catch opposite shoulder. Lift your head off the mat. Just roll from side to side for a moment. Use your hands around your knee. Bring yourself up towards a seat. What we're going to do is find a simple cross-legged seat. Just cross one leg in front of the other. Doesn't matter. We are going to do both sides, whichever one feels the most natural for you to start with. Think about the feet moving away from one another and the shins moving away from you. It's quite nice to lift the hips and let the hips move back slightly. The feet flexed. Take the fingertips out in front. Just breathe in. As you exhale, you walk the arms out in front of you. You let your head drop down. So here you'll feel your shoulder blades draw apart. You might feel a little more comfortable now. And you'll absolutely feel a stretch in the outside of the hips, the glute med. And you might just be more aware of these points because we've used the block and the ball to help release them. You might not necessarily feel any different as such, but you're just becoming more aware where those sticky points are, aware of perhaps needs more awareness and attention when we get there. And at the end of the day, it's awareness we are trying to build. Come up through a seat, and we just swap legs. So opposite shin in front, feet move away from one another, shins move away from you. And again, you work to fold. Just changing that sensation slightly. Seeing what that feels like. Slowly bring yourself up towards the seat, keeping the eyes closed if you can. Lift the shoulders up to the ears as you inhale, and the exhale, squeeze them back towards each other. As you settle towards stillness, just feel your breath, feel your body. Be grateful you had this opportunity to slow down. It's so important to give yourself an opportunity to slow down, to observe, to become aware, everything we've spoken about. To create a deeper understanding and knowledge of our bodies, how we're feeling, our fascia, our muscles, our bones, the connective tissue. So thank you for taking this time to slow down, to observe, to become aware. If you'd like to join me, we'll seal with the gentle sound of Om. Take an inhale. Namaste.